Thanks a lot for this introduction and this opportunity, both to DMA as well as to you, Rakesh. Um, my first introduction to stress was on 6th of November 1985. That's the day I got married. Sorry, that's spoken in a lighter vein, so don't take me too seriously, although some of you might empathize with such things as well. I think the reason why I chose to get into this conversation with many people is because of my own understanding that there is so much going on at this moment in time about COVID, lockdowns, uncertainties. A lawyer friend of mine actually told me that now that online courts have been permitted, um, a huge number of people in the age group of 35 to 45 are filing for divorces. So naturally, there is a huge stress somewhere out in the system. And my take is that COVID is here to stay. Coronavirus is here to stay. We will get the vaccine only in 2021 if we are lucky. If we actually get hit badly, we will have to find our cures. If we can find beds, if we can find ventilators, and if we can find a lot of, luck and divinity, the best we can do under these circumstances is to raise our immunity. And the only way to raise our immunity is to make sure that some of our positive hormones that beat stress down is something that we can actually generate more of. I can name some of them. I'm not a doctor, neither have I got into great detail of biology. So if you ask me too many tough questions, I will simply direct you to somebody else. But a few hormones that I got into understanding, for example, the good hormones, serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, these are the good hormones. So if we find that we are having stress, and if we are able to generate these hormones, then we are able to beat stress down. Now, again, my understanding of well-being tells me that there are actually 5 areas where you can develop stress. There is physical stress, there are physical stress busters, there is emotional stress busters, mental, social or relational, and spiritual. I think a lot of us understand the concept of physical stress, how it feels, and also the physical stress busters. We are used to exercising, we are used to looking at our diet. So I'm not really going to cover that in any level of detail. Some of us will also understand the aspect of spiritual stress. Life doesn't have meaning, a sense of purpose, meaning. Even there, it's possible to do the stress busting, but I think that's a slightly longer and a more complex conversation, so I'm putting that aside. I think the focus that I want to bring today is on 3 areas, which is emotional, mental, and social or relational. And maybe it's a good idea to start with one of them. So I'm going to start with the emotional side. Emotional stress is obvious in terms of how it manifests. So it's a good idea. In fact, all of you are present here. Maybe you can just give me one word and put it in the chat box as to how the emotional stress appears for you personally. What does it do to you? So just type it out in the chat box. Let's stay interactive. Confusion, anxiety, edgy, staying away from families prolonged time. Yeah. But what does it do to you emotionally? Irritates you. Sinking feeling. Yeah. Feeling on edge all the time. And does it do anything in your body? Where do you feel this emotional stress in your body? Which part of your body do you feel it? Tight chest, brain, mind is not calm, neck ache, headache, lethargy. So what is very clear is that stress is real. Whenever we have stress, it shows up in different ways for different people. So if you talk about emotional stress busters, again, there is a host of things out there. But the emotional stress buster that I would like to talk to you from my own experience is something that I call being grateful, gratitude, thankfulness. It might seem actually very obvious and sometimes also very easy, but let me tell you that it's unless you practice it in a way that it becomes a part of your life, it doesn't quite work that way. So I just want to share a personal example. Um, when I was 35 years old in December 1992, and in fact, that's the time, interestingly, Rakesh and I were there, and some of the people from Gillette who were there and with me at that time are also around. I was laid up with a heart attack. And I recuperated in the hospital ICU. The doctor said that it was a very bad heart attack. And I was quite young at that time. And in a way, my entire perspective at that time was very, very low. I had no idea whether I'll be able to hold on to my job. You know, typically what happens if you have a heart attack in a multinational company, what kind of stuff might go in the talent management system and process. I mean, it's not difficult to understand. So in a way, my world had actually folded around me. I was very fortunate that my mother handed over a book to me at that time called Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramhans Yoganand. And it's interesting how my life perspective completely shifted. But that particular incident actually changed my orbit and my trajectory. And in a hindsight, I can tell you the number of things that I can be grateful for as a result of that one single incident. I managed to get into a job which I think was more aligned to my calling. My entire process of internal shift within me started as a result of that. So when I look back, there are times I find that we may be going through something in our lives, but if we can find what's good in it, what's right in it, what is there to be grateful for in it, you suddenly find that you're touching a chord somewhere else at a deeper level. So I would really like to invite you, even at this stage, to say, just be present right now, here and now, and just think, what is it that you are grateful for in your life? Just think of one or two things that you're grateful for in your life. And it would be nice if you can just type it out so that it's available to everyone as a sharing. Anything. Grateful for today. Jayant, be a little specific. Grateful for what today? Is it the fact that you're alive today? Your health. Yeah, beautiful. You're grateful for your health. You're grateful for a happy family, financial stability. Grateful for the breaths that are available to you. Because the fact that you're taking a breath means you're alive. A family, job, health. Excellent. Grateful for my support system. Beautiful. Go on. Think some more. Feel some more. Grateful for being able to think and make sense. Beautiful. Grateful for my friends. Excellent. One of the exercises that you can do, and I would really urge you to do this, because when you start answering what are you grateful for, you will find that after 5 or 7 things, you will start stopping. You'll feel a little pressured saying, what else am I grateful for? So one of the exercises that I would actually invite you to do, not now, but somewhere later, is to actually sit down and make a list of 108 things that you're grateful for. Dig deep. really deep, because that's the only way you will access the deeper recesses of your gratitude, which you haven't really touched in all these years that you have lived. So that is an invitation that I have. The other invitation that I have for you is, just think about the fact that in these last 3 months that we have been hit with this coronavirus, are there things that you can say you could be grateful for? And if so, what would they be? And maybe you can just write those in the chat box. What are you grateful for thanks to the coronavirus? There are many things that you're not. Let's not get there. Let's not go there. That's not the purpose. Family time, connection, family. Yeah. So many people are talking about family time. Family house food. Wow. It's having a different impact on me, Gaganpreet, so I don't want to talk about that. My daughter has suddenly taken to cooking and cooking some nice baked stuff and some nice cakes, and I have to be answerable on the weighing machine, which Jayant Khosla is going to stand in front of me someday and say, what's going on, buddy? Home environment, quality time with my father. Yeah, beautiful. Some of the elderly that we've really not been in touch with. Working on my book, grant paper, yoga practice. And I mean, if you really look around outside, the pollution levels, the fact that the waters are back in the Yamuna and the Ganga much cleaner. Some of these may be temporary phenomenon. I mean, if as a humankind we go back to our ways, we will probably get back to what the situation was. But today, sitting right here, I think there is a lot that we can be grateful for. So my first submission to you is, in these times, can you take a deliberate pause whenever it is possible, just to recollect and recount to yourself, what is it that you're grateful for today? One of the great helps that I found was I took a diary. Nowadays, everything is online. So there is a diary by Salunke, which I picked up from on my Android. It's available on Android and iOS. Every day at a certain specified hour, you will get a reminder, and you open up the diary and you can just write 3 to 5 things that you are grateful for the day. Imagine the beauty and the peace that comes when you go to sleep thinking of the things that I was grateful for. So I think this is really my first invitation to you. And I'll right now just give you a small practice, which is called a lotus of gratitude. I'm extremely grateful to a friend and mentor of mine called Nityashanti, with whom I have been working for the last 11 years. I've learned this from him. And if you actually Google Nityashanti and Lotus of Gratitude, you will find this meditation practice out there. But let's just do it briefly so that we are in a position to feel it even more deeply in ourselves. Sorry, my device seems to be misbehaving and is asking me all kinds of funny things. My apologies. So the way the practice works is, sit down comfortably, and I would like you to do that as we speak. Just sit down comfortably in a straight posture so that your spine is straight, because all your energy movements are maximum if you are sitting straight. You could be cross-legged or you could be just straight, and your hands and your feet are symmetrically placed. So these are the only two conditions: straight and in your spine, and symmetrical position of your hands and your legs. And in that position, just form a lotus like this with your fingers. So you know what a lotus is, and a lotus, when it starts flowering, looks beautiful. So we have 10 petals of this lotus in our hand. Each of your fingers represents a petal. With your eyes closed, I want you to start deeply feeling the gratitude of being here right now with a set of people who are all touching this together. And as you start the process, open one petal, one finger, and just speak to your own self, what is it that I am grateful for? So, for example, I am grateful for the breath that I take today. Open one. I am grateful for this opportunity to be able to spend time with so many people together. This is my sense of gratitude. So, like this, think of one thing to be grateful for and keep opening your petals one by one till you finish 10. And when that is done, just place your hand above your heart, take a deep breath, and just be thankful to the divine, if you believe in one, or to these forces which are beyond us, even to yourself, to everything that is around us and is keeping us alive, fresh, kicking. So you can just start this process now, and let's do it together with your eyes closed. And if you finish, just sit quietly for a minute and soak in this feeling. All right, thank you. Thank you for being with me. It'll be a nice thing to know from you, maybe in the chat box. What is it that you're feeling? If you're feeling any different, what is it doing to you?
Okay, Vinit, uh, I have a question at
Yeah.
this point of time. I think beautifully explained how we should look at how should we be thankful and have a feeling of gratitude for something which we have during this tough period also. But I think really, I'm just trying to. When I was doing this exercise, I was just thinking that when somebody is getting drowned, suppose he feels that now he's getting drowned and the current and the waves are too strong. Probably at this point of time, the feeling is, how should I survive?
Yes.
Uh, so somehow, I think what you have said is absolutely right. But somehow at this point of time, we get those feelings much powerful, which really suppresses these blessings and then good feelings which we have about our existence in life. How to really deal with that strong currents,
Yeah.
which really makes us to really say that, okay, can we really survive at this point of time or not?
Yeah.
Because that becomes our primary motive in life.
Beautiful. No, I think that's a great question. Um, so, as far as I'm concerned, what I would say is there is something called prevention and building a muscle, and there is something called acting in the moment. So, for example, if I am overcome with absolute depth of grief, or the waves, as you say, are surrounding me, it might be very difficult for me to access gratitude if I've never built a muscle for it. So, first and foremost, I'm recommending this as a practice for building a muscle on a daily basis. You can't, you don't go to a gym just once in a month. You go to a gym to build your muscle and do your exercising on a daily basis, and you keep that time aside. So I think if you're building this muscle, your ability to access it even during those difficult moments will be far easier. However, if at that particular point when you haven't really built this practice and you're deeply grieved, there are other practices which are available. I may not be able to spend time here talking about them, but very briefly, for example, a very solid inhalation and expulsion. For example, in yoga, there is something called Kapal Bharti. Now, when you're doing the Kapal Bharti, you are actually expelling the air very solidly. So when you're doing a very solid inhalation and exhalation, you get in touch a lot more with your body, and it becomes easier for you to be able to deal with the situation in that very moment. In the end, whatever action you have to take, you have to take. You can't stop that. But if your mind becomes a little calmer, you are able to take a more solid action. So I think this is really what I would say. There is a fix and there is a prevention. The practice that I have shared is more a preventive practice, a muscle building practice, rather than a fixing practice in the moment. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, just to clarify to everybody, Rakesh as a moderator has certain privileges, which is at the end of every subsection, he is asking some questions which may be coming to him. But my request to everybody is to please hold these questions towards the end, and we will keep 15 minutes aside just for doing that. Okay? So do stay with me, and thanks for that. So we just talked about being grateful. In a sense, gratitude touches the heart. But we also have a very solid ally and an enemy called the mind. So the practices of being grateful and being mindful actually go together. Typically what happens is we get thoughts. These thoughts, when they hit us, and if they are negative in nature, they start to impact our emotions. And we start feeling those emotions. So the practice of gratitude deals with stuff at an emotional level and starts working obviously on the mind. But there are direct practices by which you can even impact the mind. I think my first biggest introduction to this was after my attack. I had got into pranic healing. I became a pranic healer, and I did a retreat with the master. And then in 2004, I actually had the opportunity to go for a 10-day Vipassana session. Now that's a tough session because for 10 days there, you actually maintain total silence. But all I would say is that the practice of awareness is something that I really learned very deeply at that stage. And briefly, I will tell you that any practice of awareness means keeping awareness about something. It is not a meditation, because in meditation, you are actually in a way trying to be rid of the thoughts. And as you go deeper, you get rid of the thoughts. In awareness, you become friends with your thoughts. So all you do is that you watch what comes, but you stay centered. One of the most common practices of being aware or awareness is a breath awareness. That is at the simplistic level. I'm going to deliberately teach you a different practice today, which is called a fourfold awareness. So in breath awareness, typically what happens is that you are sitting and you are watching the breath as an in-breath, as an out-breath, and you're doing nothing else, which means that your attention is fixed on the breath. And if thoughts come and you get lost in them, you slowly and quietly come back to the center. In fourfold awareness, which we will practice now, what we essentially do is that we take our awareness, attentive awareness, to four things one after the other. The first and foremost attention is to our sensations. The second is to our sight and sound. So you can do this with your eyes open or closed as you feel okay. So whatever sights and sounds that are surrounding us, that's the second level. The third fold is our thoughts and emotions, becoming aware of our thoughts and emotions. And the last, which is the most powerful, is actually becoming aware of the space within us and outside of us. I mean, I don't know, we are actually 99% space in a sense. Inside, outside, maybe 99 point whatever percent. So the vastness of this space is actually who we are. And getting in touch with that even for a moment actually brings a level of equanimity, peace, and quiet that you can't even begin to imagine. So I'm going to just start this practice. So once again, I would just like you to stay comfortable in any posture, spine straight, Hands and legs symmetrical, that's all I need in whichever fashion. And just start becoming aware of the sensations in your body. For example, if you're sitting on a chair, naturally your bottom is touching the chair and you will be feeling some sensations in your bottom. If your legs are touching the ground, your feet are touching the ground, you will feel those sensations in your feet. Just become aware of the bodily sensations. Just become aware, nothing else to do. Keep breathing regularly and normally. You will notice that your breath automatically becomes more rhythmic and probably a little deeper than usual. Let it be whatever plays out. No need to moderate anything consciously. The only thing that you're being aware of right now is the sensations. You might feel like itching at some place. That could also be a sensation. So whatever sensation you're feeling in your body, just feel it fully. That's the only ask. Feel it fully. Stay with that for half a minute. And now expand your awareness. Whilst being aware of your sensations of the body, expand your awareness and start becoming aware of the sounds around you. There will be the more obvious ones, which could be the sound of a fan or an air conditioner. There would be more subtle ones, which could be the ticking of your clock, or even more subtle ones, which might be a mild breeze, or sounds which are maybe outside your room. Become aware. Just become aware, nothing else to be done. And as you stay with this awareness, both of the sensations and of the sounds, and if your eyes are open, the sides, now take it to the third fold. The third fold is become aware of your thoughts and your emotions. If you're practicing this with your eyes open so far, then I would urge you to close your eyes now and just become aware of your thoughts and emotions. You will already find that many of them have receded. The amplitude and the frequency of your thoughts is likely to reduce. But whatever it is, feel it. Your thoughts, your emotions. Just feel it, just be aware of it. Don't have to get caught up in them. Just be aware of them as a silent observer in a Sakshi Bhav. And for the last fold, with your eyes closed, just think of the vast space that is surrounding us. Infinite, extends beyond anything that we can imagine. Start with the space that is immediately outside of you and slowly start expanding that awareness to the space of the house in which you are, the room in which you are, the colony in which you are, the city in which you are. Keep expanding it slowly. It is infinite. Given a time long enough, you can expand your awareness to include every planet, every galaxy that ever existed, and see it all contained within you. and you contained within it. And as a last part of the space awareness, now think of the space within. Our cells are nothing but space. We take our entire body, we will probably fit on the tip of a needle in a petri dish. That's how much mass we have. The rest is all space. Become aware of that space. And holding all this together, stay in complete silence for a minute. And when you feel like coming out of it, come out gently, open your eyes gently. Some people like to rub their hands, become a little energetic, feel that energy on their eyes, on their face, and wake up with a smile. So this was a practice of fourfold awareness. The idea is to simply be aware, not judge anything, not get caught up in that thought, but keep coming back to your center, but be in a state of awareness. So I've given you two practices, one of expressing gratitude, the other of practicing awareness. Rakesh, if there's anything you have to check in with, please do that.
No, I think we can go ahead because at the end of this second exercise, somehow I felt that I'm feeling quite peaceful. I mean, I was feeling good and better
Thank
than
you.
what I was feeling earlier.
Thank you.
Really
Yeah. So I think our mind, of course, needs a lot of validation, and all I can tell you is that just these two practices expand and awaken your heart and quieten your mind. That's all we really need in life in many ways. Whatever decisions we take, if we are taking it from this space of a quiet, awakened heart and a quiet, equanimous mind, these decisions will have a much better quality. So that's all I think we need to be really thinking of. Life will go on around us, but it's our attitude towards life and what we develop and the way we deal with it that will make a lot of difference. And the last thing I would like to do for today, given the time, I'm probably just going to very quickly describe that practice to you, but a few things. Apart from emotional and mental de-stressors and stress, there is the whole aspect of social stress and de-stressors. There was a very interesting study which lasted for 75 years that was started by Harvard. I don't know if some of you have seen a TED talk on it or not. But what that study essentially said was that the biggest thing that can impact us from the point of view of our well-being is actually having a set of great relationships, deep connections and great relationships. So whether it's your cholesterol levels or whether it's your sugar levels or whether it is the diet and exercise, all of these actually have a positive impact up to a point. But actually having these deep connections and relationships is probably the best thing you can do in terms of your well-being. So I would like to call this the relational or social well-being aspect. And many of us have been in lockdown with our families. Netflix, our devices are probably the most used things amongst us. But all I would like to say is, actually, if we can create conscious ways in which we could maybe leave our devices aside, this is right now maybe more preaching than practice. My wife is also somewhere in this session, and she will give me a lecture at the end of it all saying, "Sabko to padhate ho, khud to karte nahi ho." So I think we are all on this journey. But one of the things that we have consciously tried to do from time to time is, for example, to keep our phones aside when we are on the dining table. And one very interesting game, again, that I remember learning it from Nitya, but I think it's a beautiful game, is a game called Rose, Thorn, and Bud, where a rose is something that you're really feeling good and high about. It could be something that happened in the last, one day, 1 week, but something that you're really feeling high about. So, for example, for me, the rose right now is this opportunity of being able to interact with so many of you and being able to share some of my experiences. This is my rose today. The second thing is the thorn. The thorn is my low point. So, what is that low point for you? Just touch it, feel it, share it with others. So, if you're sitting together around the table as a family, each one of you is first doing a round of sharing your roses with each other. What did I feel high about? And the next round is a round of sharing your thorns with each other. Because even in sharing your thorns, you connect deeply with each other. So, I know my thorn today, for example, is yesterday I lost my first cousin who was not even 59 years of age. And that is something that obviously made me experience the whole concept of death, dying very closely. That has been my low point. But obviously, in that low point, also, I tried to find something I could be grateful for. Part of which was that I am alive, I am healthy, and I have a family with whom I can spend my life till I'm alive. So, thorns to be shared, but also to think of something to be grateful for in them. And the last is a bud. Bud is something that I'm looking forward to in the coming 1 day, 1 week. I may even shift my perspective to 1 year. So, what is it that I'm really looking forward to? So, for example, for me, the bud is the opportunity to be able to connect with people as a friend now. Many people are in troubled times, and if I can do that for them, then that would be a great opportunity for me. So, that is my bud. So, just take a minute, think about for you, what is your rose at the moment? What is your thorn at the moment? What is your bud at the moment? And if any one of these, you can just write it into the chat box just to get a feel. 1 minute, that's it. Say rose dash, thorn dash. You can share any one of them. What is it for you today? We are here also deeply connecting as a family in a way. So let's share that with each other. Looking for some answers. Rose, thorn, bud. What's your rose? At least talk about your rose, easier to do. What's your rose right now? Ravi, Alok, Ujesh, Rotash, Jayant. Making a family tree. Okay, beautiful. This is something you've done, which is great. Awesome. Thanks, Alok. Could stick to my plan, shouted on a supplier, wanted to help needy people. Okay, so this is what, a thorn for you? Connecting with me today. Thank you so much, Ujesh. Yes, we go back, what, 50 years maybe? Amazing. Ujesh is my schoolmate. Anyone else? Okay, so it doesn't matter. I think this is an exercise. So, there can be many ways in which you can connect with your families, but just find creative ways. This is also something that I Googled and picked it up, but I learned it first from Nitya. So just stay with it, establish your connections more deeply. Even if you're locked down, don't just while your time away with the devices, because that is anyway going to not really be very great in the long run. In the short run, it helps. So I think with that, I'm going to come to the end of my session and invite questions from everybody. The only thing I would leave the thought with is, for us, Building immunity is a key. For us, well-being is a key. And we all focus on physical well-being, but emotional well-being, mental well-being, and social well-being are critical to our long-term happiness and joy. So that is my wish for you. Open to questions now.